badly injured Stanton Fitzwarren sits this episode out. Recovering in hospital, he studies the ancient tome to see what secrets he can determine. The rest of our merry band of adventurers are discharged, eventually, and carry on seeing what more they can uncover on this global conspiracy that is the Masks of Nyarlathotep.
So we finished last time with everybody in St. Luke Hospital, Morningside Avenue, Morningside Heights, just around the corner from Columbia University, and also from Stanton's apartment. You were admitted to hospital on Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday the 21st of January, and we covered the period where you were admitted and also then resting overnight. And so we'll pick up the next day, Thursday the 22nd. And you've all been in hospital for most of the day, resting, recuperating from your various ailments. Obviously, Jacob hasn't been recuperating from any physical ailments, but he was staying in the relatives' room. But the other three of you were, pretty badly injured in different ways between the three of you. So it's around 6 p.m. now on the Thursday. In a shadowy corner of the dimly lit hospital ward, Douglas Blake lay, staring at the snowflakes as they drifted past the window, lost in troubled thought. He was all but oblivious to the nurse who laid his evening meal on the bedside table, and to Jacob, who had been slowly pacing at the window himself for some time, deep in his own dark ponderings. Over the last 24 hours, however, the doctors had noticed a subtle but remarkable change that had begun to take hold of the Englishman, suggesting that perhaps the darkest depths of his ordeal were beginning to recede. Though his body still bore the grievous marks of the otherworldly arcane horror he had been subjected to, a glimmer had returned to his eyes, as if the soul within him was rallying against the forces that had sought to claim it. Beneath his paraffin jelly-soaked dressings, the desiccated skin on his face, neck and arms, though still tight and brittle, showed the first tentative signs of renewal. In places where the skin had been drawn paper-thin, a slight flush of colour had appeared, a first dawn breaking over a barren landscape. Though cracks and fissures remained, the flesh beneath seemed less like the surface of a withered husk, more like that of a man who was, physically at least, already beginning to heal. The doctors and nurses have been in and out of the ward all through the day. Stanton has taken a slight turn for the worse in that the doctor has revealed to you that the bullet actually grazed his kidney, and he's in quite a lot of pain. So he's had to be given morphine, which means that he's obviously out of it for the time being. Blake, your injuries, as I said, have taken a remarkable turn for the better, and the doctors have said that they can't really see any reason why you shouldn't be able to be released tomorrow.
Excellent.
Lex, your previous knife wound had reopened slightly, but that's been restitched and dressed. And apart from the fact that you have quite heavy bruising and cuts to the kind of face and neck area, but again, the doctors have said that if you really want to, they could probably release you this evening. But they'd be happy if you'd stay till tomorrow. You have kind of. Their main concern was around the old wound that you already had reopening, but they feel that that's kind of been addressed now. So, and obviously Jacob, you just kind of hung around in the hospital, probably actually grateful for the kind of security and homeliness that it offers. Knowing you'd be pretty safe here with your friends. The nurse who's been tending to you for the majority of the day. Nurse Williams, she has kind of neatly styled hair, pinned up beneath her starched nurse's cap. She has a kind and approachable face with a kind of a reassuring demeanour, soft, oval-shaped, gentle features. You've in the short period of time that you've been tended by her, you've come to kind of feel quite fond with her. She has a very calming, compassionate way about her. She says, is there any contacts that any of you wanted to make? I notice you haven't had any visitors. That there is a phone out in the hall if you needed to let any of your friends or family know. Mr. Lockhart, I don't know whether you'd want to do that on behalf of your colleagues, just in case you knew.
Well, I'll speak to them. I'm not sure they may want to worry their family and friends, but I'll speak to them. But I appreciate the thought. Thank you.
That's okay. She leaves and goes on around the ward tending to other patients. You're kind of all at one end of the ward. It's not really a private ward. It's an open ward, but there's a reasonable gap of empty beds between where you all are and where the next kind of inpatients are. So it's probably as close as you could get to like a private end to the ward. You haven't seen anybody else since you saw Paul. Nobody else knows you're here. As far as you're aware. Yeah, but yeah. So other than Stanton, the rest of you are conscious. Jacob, you handed over earlier on in the day. You handed over the book, Stanton, but he hasn't really. You've noticed that he hasn't really had any opportunity to study it any further because of his kind of, the pain that he was in, and also the fact he's had to be medicated for that. What's the next move?
Gentlemen, I need to. I've been mulling this over all day since I stopped reading that infernal book. I'm really concerned about Stanton reading it. Last night, I found it difficult to sleep, but once I finally slept, I had the most horrendous nightmares, and I'm sure they were influenced by that damn book. I found I was in a clearing surrounded by cultists in those awful headdresses, chanting and dancing round an altar. I could smell incense and something more primal and unsettling. There was this figure on the altar, and as the chanting grew louder, the figure began to twitch and convulse. I could feel the energy in the air. They were chanting Simba, Simba, and screamed it ecstatically as the figure rose. It was an undead creature, I'm certain of it. Then I found myself in some awful desolate village overtaken by the undead. I couldn't get away. I stumbled into open grave. The earth swallowed me up. It was hideous. I woke relieved really to find myself in this place, but I just can't get the visions out of my head ever since. I've learned something from that book, given me an insight, I think, into the way these cults operate, but I think I've paid a price for it, gentlemen. I can't think of anything else throughout the day, and I'm petrified of the prospect of going to sleep and dreaming again. I'm really concerned about whether Stanton should be, or any of us, should be reading that further.
You think that what you saw was a dream? You kept saying a vision. Was it something like that was experienced when that mask was put on? I mean, did you feel like you were...
I don't know, Douglas. I do worry it wasn't a dream. It may have been a vision of something to come.
What did the village look like?
I was part of it. I wasn't watching it as an observer. I was part of it.
You were joining in the ceremony, or you were...
No, I was there in the thick of it, not participating, but it wasn't as if I was watching it from afar.
You get a sense about what sort of place it was, like European or African?
African, possibly. It was this suffocating, dense jungle clearing.
So it could have been South America, or it could have been Africa.
It could. I think Africa. It was the figures were wearing the same mask that we've seen from this cult, and again it was raising the undead.
Well, that makes sense. I mean, that if it was Africa, we know that this is we suspect that this is an African death cult, but the fact that you ended up with some kind of connection to it, so after such a brief examination of the book, you're right, is concerning.
Well, I'm worried about Stanton spending too much time, particularly in his fragile condition at the moment.
Yeah, you know that Jacob spent about just a couple of hours just flicking through the book, no more than that.
I've been torn all day because Stanton, I think, will get more from it than I. But I do
Maybe
worry about the cost.
maybe you're more susceptible than he is. I mean,
And maybe I've been, well, I feel like I've suffered more than most of us, I think, in terms of what we've seen so far.
well, exactly. It's, if during the war people suffered from shell shock and then they were never quite the same since, if you have, once you've experienced something like that, I think it's going to take less to tip you over the edge.
Well, perhaps Stanton can make his own mind up, but when he's fitter, I'd like to share this with him.
No, absolutely. I mean, my only thought is, I mean, obviously concern for his and our welfare, but that tome is going to have information in it that may prove invaluable in understanding what it is that they're trying to achieve and how we can combat it. But then equally, is it worth the risk? Do we need to understand it? Can we not just, do we have to understand it to destroy it? That would be my question.
Not necessarily. I did think there may be something in that book that would really help us, but I'm worried about the cost of that. As I say, perhaps Stanton can make his own decisions once he's fitter. He may be more robust than I.
So, what do we do now then, other than recuperate? I mean, we have the heiress to talk to, but do we have anything that we can share? Really?
Yeah, is there anything else left for us in the city? Or are we now looking at threads further afield?
Well, if that's the case, where does this lead us to Africa? Does it lead us to London first? I mean, London would seem to be the obvious location. I mean, you want to drive them back. The idea of a cult being active in London is more worrying than it being active in a village in Africa.
Am I right in thinking that the only specific contact that we have in London is the director of the Penhew Foundation, Gavigan, his name was. Jackson had his business card. I can't think. I know there may have been other evidence pointing in the direction of London, but I can't think of anyone other than him as a specific point of contact. Perhaps we should talk to the heiress first. Penhew Foundation sponsored the Carlisle expedition. We might at least get an introduction to Edward Gavigan that way.
Yeah, it would obviously be advantageous if we had her support before we moved on, and she could provide us with more information about locations and people to speak to if we do end up in Africa following her steps.
And I think she is the only thread that we haven't followed in New York, unless I'm missing something.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, as you're kind of chatting amongst yourselves, as I said, the nurses are moving about the ward, clearing away the kind of the dinner plates, etc. The door to the ward opens, and again you see the familiar figure of Lieutenant Poole being pushed again in his wheelchair. He gets halfway across the hospital ward, and he looks quite irritated, and he gets out of the chair and just kind of waves the doctor away from behind him. He's still got the sling on and quite a lot of bandaging around his shoulder. But he makes his way across the wall the rest on his way. There's nothing wrong with my legs. Leave me alone. Comes across you. Evening, guys.
Evening, how are you feeling? Better, it seems.
I better when I get out of this place. Fussing around me. But you look a little better, Blake.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm feeling it, sort of.
A little is probably the operative word there. Yeah. How's Stanton? Is he going to be okay?
Well, we think so. The doctors are a little concerned about him. That he's sedated at the moment. Hopefully the rest will do him good. But I don't think it's too serious. Nothing that some more time in here won't solve. Any developments from the outside world?
Well, I thought I'd come and give you the latest. It's the least you deserve. There's a few questions I need to ask first. So the thing that's top of my list is the situation in East Side with the shooting of Mdari.
Yes.
Problem is, we have some witnesses. So I've got to think of how I'm gonna play this one with the captain.
Well, did you have any witnesses that actually saw the shooting, or did they just see us there, arriving?
Got some pretty good descriptions from some of my colleagues, which are pretty damning. The fact, in as much as they recognise you from the descriptions, the nature of your injuries when you're escaping, some of the public on the sidewalk saw you, described how you looked, and well, it's not like there are many. Kind of throws his hands up in the air to say, it's hardly like a common injury that you have, is it?
No. I don't know what to say. I can hardly say we shot him in self-defense as he drained the life force from me using a occult magic. Can I?
No, that probably wouldn't go down very well.
Would be the truth, Douglas.
And nothing but the truth.
Yeah, well, I'll just have to think of something. The police from the precinct where it happened were all for it coming and questioning you, but I managed to put them off.
Well, without wishing to disparage your colleagues, surely the death of a African immigrant, probably undocumented, is something that can be made to go away. I imagine there aren't that many people that would be too concerned that he was no longer with us. He doesn't have any family here, as far as we know.
No, that's what I'm gonna hope for. I think it'll soon go away. I've told Captain Allen everything. Well, not everything, as much as I could, and you'll be pleased to know that Robson has been suspended pending further investigation. A lot of his precinct, also some of his sergeants and other officers are implicated.
Do you expect him to do anything about it, or is he going to take it? As in, can you expect backlash? Can we expect backlash from him?
Well, from what I understand, Captain Allen escalated it to the Inspector Anderson, who spoke to him directly. Robson isn't denying that he was taking money from Juju House. He swears that he didn't think it was anything more than just a speakeasy, and he also denies fitting up Hilton Adams. But he says he knew nothing about any murders or any cult activities. So, I don't know whether we believe that story or not. I guess if it was me, I think he's a corrupt cop. But I don't think if he'd actually known the full story as to what was going on, I don't think he would have been quite so easily swayed.
No.
Not without a hell of a lot more money changing hands.
Yeah, that's right. Couldn't be more right there. So, anyway, the long and the short of that is that I think he's out of the picture for now. So there'll be a lot in Harlem that are happy with that. The question of what we do with the place itself, it's been a difficult conversation to have with Captain Allen, because I can't. Well, as we know, there are certain details that I've omitted from my report. My suggestion. I've got to get back to him on this. My suggestion. I just wanted your endorsement or maybe advice on this. I have a feeling that I'm a bit out of my depth, but I feel like bricking up the door to the basement of that place, permanently sealing the trapdoor, and then pulling down both Juju House and the pawnbrokers next to it would be the way forward.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, ideally, I'd want the whole thing filled with concrete so that it could never be reopened without significant work. I would maybe position it with the powers that be that it is likely to be a focal point for cultists, given its symbolic significance, and destroying it in its entirety would prevent anybody using it as a focal point in the future. Doesn't mean that we have to say that there is something real there, just that it could be used as a symbolic meeting point for cults in the future. So its complete destruction would prevent that. It couldn't be celebrated.
Yeah, I just think, yeah, I'll go down that route, but I don't think the captain will be. It's you can see it from his point of view without any kind of real.
No, well, whatever. As much as you can reasonably get away with, anything would be.
I have to pinch myself that we're even having this conversation. To be honest, I thought I'd seen it all in my 30 years of service, but every day I wake up, I still can't believe what the hell we saw down there.
No, it is hard to believe.
I don't know what to do about the bodies.
There
are some kin, family who deserve to know what happened and have a burial. But, well, I don't really know. I wouldn't want to send anybody down there to retrieve them, and I certainly wouldn't do it myself. I think we may have to just say that we found their possessions, but we never found them.
I think that might be the safest option.
I agree.
Particularly the ones that have already had a burial.
Yeah. Okay. That's that. You know what the worst thing about this place is? Can't get a drink. I mean, you literally just can't get a drink. And Kwane, we got him under lock and key. He's totally flipped. He initially denied everything, and then this flipped, gone totally mad, babbling incoherently about all sorts of, in kind of, most of it in African. He's threatened some of his interrogators with them being fed to the many-faced one. He keeps talking about the Chakota, or spirit servant, and the glory of the bloody tongue. So I don't think we're going to get anything out of him. Well, anything more than insane rambling. No.
You just need to make sure that he's put somewhere he never gets out.
Well, if I had my way, he'd be replacing Adams in Sing Sing. He should be going to the electric chair.
Yes.
Oh, and your friend Jackson.
Yes.
His body must have been stolen from the cemetery in Brooklyn on Monday night, the day of his funeral. So my officers have found that the gate to the cemetery and the door to the mausoleum were both locked, and the only person that has a key is the sexton. His name is Elijah Harris. Apparently he is a regular at the coffee shop in Harlem called Fat Maybelle's, which coincidentally is the same coffee shop that Emerson said Mdari frequented regularly.
What's his name? Elijah what was that? Sorry?
Elijah Harris. It's you can bet your bottom dollar he's one of the cultists.
And are you going to do anything about that, or are we? I mean,
no, I don't need you to do anything about that. This Fat Maybelle's coffee shop and speakeasy is we're going to stake it out. The thing we've got is if you've taken the head of the serpent off, but we've still got some of the body left.
Yeah, you're going to have to monitor that place to ensure that they don't reform.
Exactly. I want to know who these cultists were.
Well, the concern is that they might have connections higher up. Everyone that we've seen so far, it's fairly lowly in the strata of the city.
Mm-hmm.
If there's anyone in a position of power, seniority involved, then that's an even bigger problem for us to deal with. Certainly my experience of something similar in London involved some of the so-called great and the good. So I would not be surprised if there was more to be uncovered here.
During your investigations, you haven't come across any other leads on any potential any links to this cult? Anybody else do you think may potentially be in it?
I don't believe so, gentlemen.
I can't think of anyone. I suspected Robson perhaps, but it sounds like he may just have been inadvertently protecting them without knowing too much about it.
Yeah,
no,
Robson.
I mean, you tracking down that key holder has gone further than we have in finding extra members.
There were other visitors to Juju House, weren't there? Not that we saw any of them, but we heard comings and goings.
Yeah, we're speaking to some of the residents that live in the tenements close by to try and get some information out of them, but we haven't from what I understand, we haven't really made much progress yet.
Emerson, we think, was unwitting his involvement in the import, because that was Undari's doing.
Yeah, I don't think he would have been so
No,
cooperative
exactly.
so we agree with that. Okay, well, it's just
We'll
frustrating.
have a think. We'll have a think.
Well, yeah, I'll have to once I get back out there, I can, we can start putting the feelers out. But yeah, okay, I think that's about it.
You can understand it's difficult for us, given both our colour and accents, to be able to investigate effectively in Harlem.
You've done more than you've done more than you needed to do, and more than I should probably have allowed you to do already. So I don't need you to do anything more in that respect. I'm eternally grateful to you all for what you've done, and even again risking your life to that Barry. I mean,
well, I think we would have been dead without you. Your willingness to believe us and to come down to the cellar with us. I think if it had just been us, we would not have made it out. So I think we're square.
Yeah, if I'm honest, it was my hatred for Robson more than anything else. When he threatened me and my family, that was the final straw.
Well, it's a powerful motivator. We'll take it. Any assistance. I'm just glad it worked out well for all of us.
Well, I don't think it's just the beginning of the job for me, but I'll make sure that you can rest assured that I'll do everything I can to make sure no stone is left unturned to root out every single one of these.
No, anything we can do to help, and anything you find out that you think might be of value to us, because we believe that this isn't an isolated incident and that there may be similar groups in other cities in the United States, but also perhaps in Britain and across into Africa as well. So at some point we will have to do what we can to destroy those. So we will return any information that we have to you in the hope that it will provide assistance in your investigations, and I would hope that you would do the same.
Yeah, I'll guarantee to do that for you. So you think this is a wider thing then, goes beyond, not only beyond New York, but beyond what?
We don't know how far it goes, but I mean, this Jackson came back to New York to tell us about this. He had been abroad tracking this. This is not a Native American cult. It wouldn't have just sprung up here from nothing. It had to have come from somewhere. So we're going to have to follow that line. We think we saw evidence of something similar in Peru. So we're going to have to continue to follow up each of these threads wherever they lead us.
Well, tell me when you leave, and or make sure you stay in touch. Give me your kind of contact details if you're going back to wherever you're going.
Yes, will do.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't been in contact with that reporter that you mentioned yet. I haven't had time, but you think she's trustworthy? Schoenberg it wasn't it, at the time?
Yes, I think so. I mean, I told her pretty much what you know, so she is aware, although she hasn't experienced or seen anything herself. I think she knows that we weren't lying to her, so she may be able to assist in spinning a tale that will be acceptable for public consumption.
Is it worth me asking her to come in and speak to you guys? Because she's probably going to be, maybe if you have the relationship with her, maybe you could kind of...
Well, could smooth the ground and introduce her to you. That may be a good idea.
Well, I know her. I've had dealings with her before, but I don't think, as much as I don't trust her, but I haven't really got any. She hasn't really got any reason to. I haven't never done anything to her to make her feel particularly well disposed towards me, especially when I'm asking her to.
Well, I suppose we should also tell her what has transpired, because there is always a risk that she will continue to investigate and finds herself in a situation she can't get herself out of. She is tenacious. She needs to know the risk that she will put herself under if she continues along that path. So yes, we probably should talk to her.
Okay.
She did spend a goodly time looking over, watching, didn't she? We
Well,
might
she
be able to
made
get some descriptions.
absolutely, yes.
Well, if you can have, I'll contact her or get someone to contact her. If you could have a word with her and then send her in my direction.
Yes, absolutely.
I promise that's the last favour I'm going to ask of you. At least for today.
I suspect you've done us a favour. Very well.
He says he rises from his chair and he goes to shake your hand and realizes that he's using his bad arm, winces in pain. Oh, God damn.
I'll give him a very limp handshake back.
Okay, he struggles back. He just walks with disdain past the doctor, who's still standing in the middle of the hospital wall with an empty wheelchair. He has gone from the ward.
It's a very fair point, but we should have spoken to her, given that I misdirected her as to what we were planning on doing. Well,
should she be our next step?
Well, I think she's going. Yes. Well, she may be able to tie up some loose ends for us and provide us with some others, and then we wait and see whether we can get a meeting with Erica Carlisle.
I was updating my notes earlier today, trying to get that damn dream out of my mind. I was just thinking about what further threads are here, and also I've remembered a little more about the London connection. There was more than the Penhew Foundation. There was Jackson sent wires to his publisher Jonah from Hong Kong initially, and then London. It's crazy sounding things, but he'd been talking to Scotland Yard and the press. Jackson also, in his notes, referred to the psychoanalyst files surviving, and I did wonder whether that was a reference to Dr. Huston, who was on the Carlisle expedition. He also referred to Carlisle's safe. No idea where that is. But there were also a couple of other London connections. Jackson mentioned to Carlton, his attorney, that he'd spoken to a journalist. Was it Mickey Mulhoon at the Scoop, a Fleet Street scandal rag?
Oh, yes. Yes, you're right.
And also that he's spoken to Inspector James Barrington at New Scotland Yard. So there were a few other London leads there. We've got the journalist, we've got Inspector Barrington, we've got Penhew.
Well, the Carlisle safe may well be with the sister. Well,
the only two threads here, I think, are Schosenberg and the Carlisle sister.
Yeah, neither of which are particularly time critical, are they? But I mean, we're going to have to be departing from hospital.
It's not happening today.
No. I'm just wondering about
when's your expected discharge, I guess?
Tomorrow, they said. But obviously, I'm not going to be in any fit shape for it. Well, not that I'm hopefully expecting anything too strenuous other than some chats with some lovely ladies. I'm more concerned actually about leaving Stanton here with the book because it leaves him exposed. So I mean, we can't discharge him at the moment, but equally difficult to stay here and keep an eye on him. I mean, depending on how bad his wounds are, we could always get him moved to a residence and have a private nurse tend to him. It's not like we don't have the funds. I think it's recuperation rather than a requirement to be in a hospital. I mean, he obviously needs someone to attend to him, to monitor him, but a paid physician could do that.
Perhaps. I wonder whether he needs another couple of days in hospital first before he's moved, but perhaps we ought to speak to his doctors about that.
It's the risk. It's the risk of somebody of a cultist, a lone cultist who is still on the loose, finding out where he is and trying to retrieve the book.
Well, I don't think we should leave the book with him. Certainly not while he's incapacitated.
Well, I suppose he's unconscious, so we can take it with us, can't we? So very well. Well then, Schosenberg will probably come to us, if not some point today, then tomorrow. I will be discharged, and then I'm assuming we will depart with the book come back at a later date when Stanton is able to rejoin us. But in the meantime, we go and talk to Erica Carlisle if we are able to.
Okay.
The
Carry on.
attorney, hadn't the attorney said he'd try and arrange an introduction? So should we
Yes, exactly. So,
chase that up
yeah,
with him?
speak to him. Yeah.
Carlton Ramsey, wasn't it? So
Okay. So the night draws on, and you see the evening draws on. You see the steady stream of visitors coming in and out of the hospital ward, and as visiting time the end of visiting time approaches, the amount of visitors begin to thin out. Where it's about 8:45, when you see the familiar small dark-haired woman Rebecca Schosenberg bustling in through the door of the ward, carrying a bunch of flowers. She hastens across the ward with a big smile. She puts the flowers on the end of your bed, Douglas. Your bed's in the middle of the three of you.
Mm.
She says, she's out of breath. Good evening, gentlemen. It's good to see you. I had a call from Lieutenant Poole. He thought it might be an idea to have a chat with you. I'm sorry if it's a bit late, but I just couldn't leave it until tomorrow, especially how our last conversation finished, and with everything that's been going on at that hell-forsaken place. What the hell has been going on there?
Mm. As you can see, not according to plan, but we're glad that you're looking fit and healthy, and doubly glad that you didn't join us at Juju House.
What the hell? What's happened to you? Your skin, you can see she reaves. Yeah, she just reaves up her nose and then tries to cover it up. I'm sorry, but I've never seen anything like that before.
No, well, what caused it I've never experienced before either. Let us say that the worst aspects of what I suggested to you that was there caused this. It was it sounds foolish saying in a place such as this, in a place of science and medicine, it was magic.
She she looks the same look that she gave you back in the coffee shop before when you talked about this type of thing. And you see her face darken, and her skin become markedly whiter. You can see the fear return to her face.
I'm sorry, Miss Schoenberg, to scare you once again, but as I said previously, you need to understand that the things that we have seen and the things we're dealing with are real, and that is why we wanted to talk to you and want you to talk to Paul, because Paul has now seen what we have seen and is aware of the truth that lies in the darkness, as it were.
But what's that got to do with me? What does he want from me? I mean,
I think one, you need to we know that you're investigating the murders and you're trying to clear an innocent man's name, so we wanted to provide you with more information on that, but also to counsel you not to dig further, because although we believe that we've stopped the evil in Juju House, we believe that there still be maybe remnants around the city who may seek to rejoin and come back to strength, and if you go poking around, they may attempt to do to you what they attempted to do to me, or worse, and they may be more successful. So we wanted to provide you with the information, even if you can't use it, for your own safety. And also, we wanted you to talk to Paul so that if things come to light or there are questions from the press, you would be able to assist him with providing a story that would not put fear into your readers.
And as Paul put it, we've removed the head from the snake, but not destroyed it completely. I think that's what he would value your help with.
What did you find? What did you find there? So Hilton Adams was innocent after all. It was a cult. They're responsible for all these murders.
Yes. In short, what they were doing is they were abducting their victims, killing them, and in some form of ritual, they were bringing their corpses back to unlife. And what we experienced down in the cellar in Juju House was their animated corpses as part of their rituals. And
You see, she has to put a hand on your bed as you're talking to her, like, and she almost faints.
take a seat and have a glass of water if it would help.
Yeah, yes, I think it would. She sits down.
You can see why we're concerned for your safety if you dig too deep.
This is just all crazy, though. I just can't comprehend any of this.
That's what it does. You can use elements of this information to get the innocent man, whose name escapes me, from
Hilton Adams.
Hilton Adams, yes. Sorry, too many names. Get him from death row, because the cult, although there are elements of it that must never be known because they are true and they go against anything that any reasonable, sane, or godly person would believe possible. There are elements that you can share. People do believe in things, and there are cults where people do terrible things that do not involve the reality of what they're worshipping. So there's evidence that Paul can assist with to clear his name.
And what about Robson? Just what happens to him?
Robson has been suspended.
What? You're joking.
No, he's. So again, you should talk to Paul. He can provide you with more details, but that should free up people's ability to speak more freely. And Robson is aware to an extent of the activities that were going on at Juju House, and the protection he once afforded them is now gone.
Let me get this right. You want me to help cover up the more scary aspects of this whole thing, and work with Paul to publish a story that explains the majority of the incident, including Robson's involvement, but doesn't.
Yes, I'm saying
risk exposing any of the other madness that you're talking about.
Yes, you say enough that. I'm not saying to lie, but you provide enough truth to get justice served and the innocent pardoned and the guilty sent to prison.
And I think you'll find that Paul is motivated to ensure that an innocent man doesn't go to the chair.
It might be a difficult sell to your editor to go in too hard with tales of magic anyway.
Well, obviously, none of this would fly if any of that were to be included, because we and you would be thought of as mad and dismissed. Anything we would say, we would be valueless.
Well, of course, I'm a serious journalist. I can't.
Exactly.
Of course, Ms. Schoenberg, it's a matter for you what you wish to report, but of course, one could report it as the insane beliefs of the cult, rather than presenting the unvarnished truth.
Yeah, they thought they could bring back the dead. They believe totally true. They did think that. The fact they can actually do it is neither here nor there.
If I'm honest with you, she says, looking, I'd rather believe the former than the latter anyway.
Oh, so would we. It would be less dangerous, both to our physical and mental well-being.
Okay. Well, yes, I will go and speak to Paul. I will do as you ask.
Is there anything that you haven't told us, or you think, in light of what we have told you, that may be of value to find other cultists? When you were observing Juju House, did you see anybody? Do you have descriptions of anybody that we haven't yet identified that you think might be worth us investigating?
No, I do not. If I did, I would have already investigated them myself. Even Hilton and his wife Millie, they don't know anymore either. So no is the answer to that. Unfortunately, they were very careful in keeping their keeping their numbers concealed. The only one that I know that Hilton was suspicious of was Umdari, who incidentally was shot. He looks at
Shot.
in his side.
Wow.
Yesterday.
Yes.
I'm assuming that it would be too much of a coincidence to think that you are. Well, it does seem rather a coincidence, does it not?
Well, it is not a coincidence at all because it was Andari that did this to me. We were at his apartment looking for evidence of his involvement in the cult, and he returned whilst we were there, and he did something. I don't know how to explain it. A darkness was cast from him to me, and that is the last thing I remember. And luckily, Jacob was there as well.
So, yeah, Millie was right then, because her husband was following this Dari man immediately prior to him being arrested, and it was almost as if it was actually that action that got him arrested by Robson. But that would make sense now. So he was one of the cultists.
Yes. Well, if what you're saying is true, then that sounds like Robson was protecting Andari rather than just protecting Juju House.
Well, again, it seems a coincidence that Hilton maintained that it was as soon as he was on to Andari that he got arrested.
Interesting.
I will obviously tell Paul that.
Yes, definitely worth him looking into the link, particularly as Robson is trying to make out he didn't know that it was any more than a speakeasy.
This makes me concerned for what might be at Robson's.
Well, judging by the look of all of you, I don't think there's anything that you can do about it at this stage. Hopefully now you would leave it in the hands of the New York's finest.
Well, indeed.
Paul is a good man, and he is well liked in the police force. I feel that if he has broken the back and managed to persuade his superiors to suspend Robson, then they must have seen the light. Whatever you found there was obviously sufficient to well, put it this way, Robson has been suspected for years, and nobody was ever able to either have the courage or the knowledge to pin him down. If that's happened now, then that can only be a good thing. So I will work with Paul, and hopefully Paul will want to speak to Hilton and his wife as well, and they can tell him everything they know. Yeah, that is a huge weight off my shoulders. You can't believe how that makes me feel. I've spent pretty much every day for the past, more than a year trying to prove that Hilton Adams is innocent. Yeah, thank you. Well, looks like I'm going to be shooed out of here in a minute. I think the visiting time is over. Before I go, a solicitor man, maybe Mr. Gray, I think his name is. I met him at the funeral. I've seen him before. He contacted me earlier and asked if I knew where you were. Said he desperately needed to get hold of you, but obviously at that point I didn't have a clue where you were. Maybe...
Is that Bradley Gray?
No, he was talking about something to do with Bradley Gray. I think his name was Ramsey.
Ah. A wiry, spectacled, black gentleman.
That's it. That's him. He said that he managed to arrange an appointment with Mr. Gray, and he needed to speak to you urgently. Asked me if I'd spoken to you. Obviously, I told him that I'd seen you in the coffee shop, but that was obviously the last time I'd seen you. I didn't tell him about your plans to investigate Juju House. But anyway, it might be nothing, but he seemed quite desperate to speak to you.
Oh, well, thank you. We'll contact him. Perhaps it's too late now, but first thing in the morning when he opens his business.
Good. She stands and says, "Well, I hope you all a speedy recovery. What do you plan on doing next? I mean, you must be in danger too. You say that I am, but you must be also, surely."
Yes, but we are one, used to it, and two, prepared for it. So we will just have to watch each other's backs.
I'm assuming that I'm not to make any reference or mention to any of you in any of my
We would much
reportings.
prefer it if you kept our names and descriptions out of it. It makes it very difficult for us to continue our work when people are aware of our activities.
And may significantly increase the danger we're already in. So we would be very grateful if you could keep our names and identities out of things.
And indeed, it would put you at greater risk as well, because it would suggest to whoever was after us that you mightn't be able to provide them with information as to our whereabouts, which would definitely put you in danger.
I think it would definitely read better if maybe New York's finest did everything. It didn't
Yes.
need help from the likes of us.
Yes, I understand. I'm sure that Paul will be happy with that. Although actually, he probably won't, knowing him. But yes, yeah, of course. Yes, I understand. Well, just make sure you don't do anything too dangerous.
Only dangerous thing I plan on doing is to eat more hospital food.
You need to increase your health insurance, Douglas.
I think it may be a little late for that, she says, as she smiles and leaves you all to be. She's herded out amongst the stragglers of the visitors. One of the nurses says, "Mr. Lockhart, are you staying again this evening?"
I will if the room is free. Perhaps just this one more night, and then I won't impose any further on your hospitality beyond that.
Of course. Okay. Everybody, the lights start to go out and silence falls over the hospital ward. Okay. Everybody's going to go to sleep.
I think so. And then go and visit Carlton Ramsay in the morning.
Think so.
Yeah.
Okay. So Friday morning comes. Jacob, you are very relieved that you had no further dreams last night of the variety which you described previously. Okay, so you wake on Friday morning. The doctor comes around doing his rounds. And the long and the short of it is that Stanton, he needs to remain. He's not happy about it. He's got no problem with your private care solution, and indeed he thinks that's going to be the way forward. But he doesn't want him moved out of the hospital for at least another couple of days. So just want to make sure that there's no further, that there isn't actually any long-lasting damage to his kidney. As far as you go, Douglas, he's happy for you to. He kind of checks over your wounds again. He again remarks that he's surprised at how quickly they're healing, and says that he's happy for you to leave at lunchtime today. Lex, you were free to leave last night if you wanted to.
Yeah, I was just gonna wait for the others.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So as far as just to repeat, so as far as your appearance goes, obviously Lex, you have kind of quite heavy bruising and cuts to the face and neck, so quite bad black and yellow bruising. So it looks like you've been in quite a way, have, and obviously a very bad fight. Blake, obviously your injuries are quite unusual and also quite visible because they're on your face, neck, and arms.
Could I pass for recovering from malaria, or is it more cadaverous than
I thought you were
that?
going to say leprosy.
That might work.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit more. It's a little bit more. They look like more like burns than anything else.
Okay.
Stick with the electrocution angle.
Yeah. Just
Burns.
Yeah. A chemical fire.
Okay. So you're going to obviously discharge yourself at lunchtime on Friday, and what are you going to do?
Should we head to Carlton Ramsay's office?
That's a good idea.
No, tickets to Shanghai now. Yeah. Let's go see. I want to speak to my solicitor.
Okay. Talking about yourselves a second. I'll say.
Because if we want to keep up our usual tradition, we need to have breakfast first.
No, fair point.
Yeah, you've only had hospital breakfast so far.
Yeah, we haven't been to a diner in forever.
Okay, so you're going to head. You step outside the hospital, and the first thing you notice is you're hit with a gust of cold air. There's still kind of flurries of snow in the air, and it is really really cold, quite windy as well. So especially for Douglas, that's quite painful. So you kind of pull your clothes up around you, trying to. You still obviously got your bandages and stuff on, but it's the face that's probably the worst. So how are you just going to hail a taxi to Lennox Avenue, where the attorney is?
Yeah, I'll
Yeah.
pull a scarf up around my face.
Okay.
Cover myself as much as I can without it being really obvious that I'm trying to cover myself as much as I can.
Yeah, well, it's actually you're helped by the kind of prevailing weather conditions, because a lot of people have the kind of coats pulled around their faces and and hats and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Okay. You make your way to the office of Carlton Ramsey on 124th and Lennox Avenue in Harlem. You're actually even slightly nervous when you realise that you're entering Harlem again.
Mhm.
Okay, and you go in through the door of the solicitor, and you're shown up immediately as soon as this receptionist buzzes through to Ramsey. He kind of she says you need to go up straight away, and you're shown straight through in to see him. Okay, right, you head into his office. The door's open, and he stands behind his desk. He's like, "Where the hell have you been? Where have you been? Where the hell have you been? What the hell has happened to you? Oh my God, come and take a seat. You look terrible, all of you. I've been phoning, I've been sending telegrams, nothing.
I shall leave this one to Jacob.
We've been in hospital, Carlton, or certainly these two gentlemen have. We've been completing some of Jackson's work, and perhaps we shouldn't give you the gory details, but you can see we've had a time of it. But we heard you wanted to speak to us, perhaps with to follow up the introduction to Bradley Gray.
Yes. Come on, take a seat. Sit down. You sure could deal with one by the look of it. So I've managed to make an appointment this afternoon for you to meet with Bradley Gray. It's only a half-hour meeting at the main office of the Carlisle Corporation in just off Broadway near the Woolworth Building. So it's just an initial kind of triage meeting, if you want to call it that. If you want to get to see Erica, then you have to go through him first. You'll need to convince him of your intent and good character, but moreover, why you actually want to see her. The problem is, I don't think your appearance is going to really help with that.
Or it might actually assist the story we have to tell.
What actually is that story? And what? That's the thing. If you're gonna see him, and he's done me a favour by arranging this meeting, he's like, you better not be wasting my time with these, Carlton. And I'm like, I know that. And he's like, Erica doesn't want to talk about the Carlisle expedition anymore. She's had enough of that. I'm like, yeah, but these guys, they really, they really have something. So I put my neck on the line for you on this.
Well, we were given to understand that Erica was desperate to learn of the truth behind the deaths of the Carlisle expedition. We suspect that we've come across elements in New York that have a strong connection with those deaths.
Yeah, but what you have to remember is that, as far as she's concerned, that the chapter of that book is already closed. She went over there. She's seen the official report. She's seen that the culprits were hung. It's, as far as she's concerned, it's all done. So it's going to have to be something pretty concrete to persuade Bradley that it's worth him granting a meeting with her.
Will she not be concerned to hear that the organisation who may have been responsible for the deaths is still at work and still at large and could harm others?
When you say the deaths, are you saying that the people that killed Carlisle expedition are the same ones that you've been investigating here?
Well, if not the same people with the same beliefs and the same potentially part of the same organisation.
But she'll probably just say that's a job for the police.
Well, if she's that disinterested, then we're going to have her work cut out. Is there anything Bradley Gray hinted at that to give us an angle to get an audience with her? Anything that might spark her interest?
Well, no. Bradley hasn't said anything, I didn't give him too much information because I didn't really know what the hell to say, to be honest. But I guess going with the angle that he may still be alive, if there's anything that's going to pique her curiosity, that may do it. But you're going to need. Why do you? We're going to other than some papers that Jackson, God rest his soul, sent saying that he thinks some of the members of the Carlisle expedition might still be alive. We don't really have anything, do we?
No, we don't. But perhaps if we speak to her and explain to her that Jackson was researching the fate of the expedition and was killed for his trouble, and that we were his close friends, and we wanted to find out what happened to him, and that we would like her assistance, any information she could provide regarding her investigation into the expedition to help us find the murderers of our friends. She may have some positive feelings towards us, that she wanted to find out what happened to her brother. She may feel sympathetic to our cause.
Well, yeah, okay, that sounds like about as close to an angle as we're going to get. But you just got to be warned that these are she's a busy person. She's also high profile and also used to being harangued and harassed about her brother.
We should say that we can show her some things that we have, some evidence that we have found. We can show her things that Jackson found as well. So we wouldn't just be asking her for information. We would show her what we have, and then it's down to her how she wishes to interpret it, whether it's something that she thinks is valuable and requires further investigation, or she can dismiss it. But we are primarily investigating the murderers of Jackson. So we are willing to help her if she wishes us to, but it's not going to stop us investigating our own friend's demise.
No, of course not. But yeah, okay. Well, you just got to be. I think we just got to be. Well, you just got to be mindful of the fact that if you want to speak to her, then she's going to need a reason to speak to you.
Yeah, and the reason that we say is that we believe that our friend was murdered by the people that murdered her brother, and that he was murdered because he was investigating the death of her brother, and that we would hope to speak to her in order to see whether we could use any of the information that she had in order to bring them to justice, in the same way that those that killed her brother were brought to justice. That's an entry point. Once we have that, once we can start the conversation with her, then we'll see where it leads.
Okay. What the hell did happen to you, though? We thought you've been. I mean, what was it? Well, yeah. What is it?
We were investigating a abandoned location where we thought there was cultist activity, and I stepped on a bare electrical cable. I was lucky. I was thrown across the room, but it burned me quite severely.
But yeah, that's not good, is it?
No, I wear rubbish soled shoes next time.
Yeah, we've already lost Jackson. We could do with that losing any of you guys.
Well, yes, particularly my own foolishness, as opposed to how Jackson was taken from us.
What happened to you, Lex? You look pretty beat up too.
Just nod. Tough training.
Should have seen the other guy.
Should have seen the door.
Look, he says, you do realise that Jackson wouldn't have thought any less of you if you did decline his offer.
Well, in fairness, it's not just for Jackson. It's for us and for everybody else who may be touched, damaged, threatened, or killed by this cult's activities. We can't just...
You know what? You actually sound exactly like him now.
That's why he was a friend.
He smiles and he shakes you all by the hand and says, yeah, so 5 p.m, the Woolworth building, opposite the Woolworth building, the Carlisle Corporation, just off Broadway. I'm assuming you don't want me to come as well.
Maybe you should maintain a safe distance, because if it does go badly, then we wouldn't want your reputation to be tarnished.
Maybe I should just come on a watching brief.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really good... Okay. Well, if you want to come back here later, then, and then we'll all head down together.
Yes.
Sounds good.
Good. I'm just about to go for some lunch. Actually, you fellas eating, or would you like to join me?
I could eat.
Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Thank you. If
Yeah,
you
I
could
know.
stand our company.
I know a great little Italian around the corner. Okay, so you head off to lunch with Carlton. Is there anything else that you want to do between finishing lunch with Carlton and heading down to the Carlisle Corporation?
I think we should just have a quick discussion about how we're going to approach the conversation with Bradley Gray.
Okay, Carlton heads back to, after lunch is finished, he leaves you in the Italian restaurant. He's paid the bill. He leaves you in the restaurant and he says he's got to head back to the office for an hour or so just to tidy up a few loose ends. You can follow across when you finish having your chat. Okay.
Well, who's going to lead? I'm happy to. I don't know who he's likely to be more receptive to.
I think your manner would probably be more effective than mine. I'm more effective talking to a different level of society, shall we say?
So, in terms of an approach, well, let me run this past you, gentlemen. If we tell him that our dear friend Jackson was investigating the Carlton expedition, we tell him that he was brutally murdered, that and perhaps even to share that we've been investigating his murder, and we have a strong suspicion that the same cult that was responsible for the demise of the Carlisle expedition is operating from New York. I wonder if we could even show him some of the artifacts.
Yes, I was thinking that we should. His physical evidence,
and they have a real impact. They have a presence, and that we were hoping for an audience with Erica to find out if there was anything she knew, and perhaps we could also hint that the concern is that if we can't stop this cult, what happened to the Carlisle expedition may happen to others.
Yes, and we want to bring them to justice for Jackson. I think that labouring heavily that we want that justice, and we want to find out exactly what happened and why, and that there is a direct connection between his death and his investigation of the expedition.
Okay. Yep. Good a chance as any.
And then we could say in passing that, not as a key point, but that his investigation that perhaps part of the expedition was still alive later on in the conversation might pique her interest, but I don't think we should lead with that. But it might, depending on how the conversation goes, that is definitely something we should indicate to her, maybe suggesting that might be one of the reasons why he was killed.
Yeah.
To hide the fact that he discovered that they were still alive somewhere.
Okay, happy with that as a plan?
Yeah.
If you wanted to really lay it on thick, then feel free to ignore this one. We could suggest that he had said that he wanted to bring this evidence to her, but he was killed before he had the chance, which ties her into it. Might slightly guilt her into being more positive in involvement, that it was the fact that he was looking to help her by providing information about what was going on with her brother, and then died as a result of it, might be a good lever.
Wonderfully manipulative, Douglas.
Okay, so on that note, you're going to head back across to Carlton's office and then down to Manhattan, down to Broadway. Yeah?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. You take the taxi ride with Carlton down into the southern tip of Manhattan on what was a grey, cold day has now become a dark, cold evening. As the majority of New Yorkers head out, leaving work at kind of 5 p.m. on a Friday evening, heading out for a weekend. You head towards the financial district, where there's still quite a lot of lights on and still a lot of work going on. Okay, you see a more or less opposite the Woolworth building. You see another skyscraper. This one is a dark stone skyscraper, and it has the Carlisle Corporation emblazoned across the front of it, with large glass windows leading into showing you into a foyer, revolving door. You go in through the revolving door. Carlton speaks to the receptionist, and you sit briefly in the lobby before the receptionist says you can go up. It's on the 12th floor, so you head towards the lift. Okay. Douglas, can I ask you to roll percentile dice for me, please?
Who was that?
You.
Me.
You.
Oh, it
Yeah.
wasn't me. Thought I
Yeah.
heard my name. Sorry.
Yeah. I just want you to roll percentile dice, please.
8.
Oof.
Round of
Okay.
applause.
You walk perfectly to the left. Well done.
Pressing the right button.
Stylish.
Hold on a sec. Actually, can I just ask the other two, Andy and Dave, can you literally just drop for 30 seconds and come back on again?
Yeah, no worries.
It's going to be quicker than me trying to type stuff. You're heading towards the lift and you glance to your right. Oh.
Okay.
You glance to the right and you see outside in the dark, standing outside the window, you're shocked to see the Weasley features of Alfred Kinnery standing outside looking through the window. Your gaze meets momentarily, then he scuttles off into the darkness.
Excellent.
Okay, so you head across to the lift, and yeah, you'll go into the lift.
Okay, into the lift. And once we're in the lift,
The lift dings and begins to ascend the building.
gentlemen, you remember I told you that when we were at the funeral, I recognised somebody from my time in London was watching through the window.
Vaguely. A lot has happened since then.
Indeed. Weasley, gentleman, went by the name of Kinnery.
Right.
Anyway, he was involved in some way with the cult that I encountered there. And I just seen him watching us as we came in. So
From
definitely
within
some form of
within the building.
No, from outside.
I can say watching this from where?
From outside, and when he saw that I spotted him, he disappeared.
What Carlton says? What's he doing here? If he's followed you from London.
Well, I mean, this was years ago now. My concern is that he was part of the cult that I encountered wasn't disrupted. I had to leave London because of it for my own safety. I thought I had lost them, but then encountered someone who attempted to kill me, which is why I ended up in Peru, where I met Jackson and these gentlemen.
So you've encountered this cult before in London?
Well, I didn't know that that's what it was, and it may not have been. I at the time, I didn't know enough about such things to know what I was witnessing. I didn't stay around too long to see it either, to observe. But the fact that Kinnery is here now, and after all this time, and has reappeared when we're investigating what Jackson's been investigating, and the fact that Jackson had been in London and talking to Scotland Yard.
Wow.
I mean, that is not a coincidence. So yes, I think he is come from London to find out what we are doing. Whether he's here specifically because of me or because he was following Jackson and spotted me subsequently, I don't know.
You say you saw him at Jackson's funeral as well?
Yes, and I've been watching out for him since, but this is the first time that I've seen him. So he just seems to be watching as opposed to doing anything active at the moment. So we should be careful, even more so than we are already.
Yeah, I told Jackson that every single time I spoke to him.
So anyway, we should be.
The lift dings and arrives at the 13th floor.
Oh, fitting.
Bradley Gray's office is perched high above the restless streets of Manhattan, tucked away on the 13th floor of the limestone skyscraper. The building looms over Wall Street like a stone sentinel, its facade adorned with intricate carvings and massive arched windows that gleam in the early evening. Inside, the scent of polish and cigar smoke hangs in the air, mingling with the distant clatter of typewriters from beyond numerous doors and the soft murmur of telephones. You step out of the elevator, its brass cage rattles shut behind you, and you make your way down a dimly lit corridor. The walls are lined with polished wood panels, and the floors creak underfoot. The office is at the far end. Okay, you head to the office, following Carlton. Carlton knocks on the door, and you hear a voice from within. Come in. Carlton opens the door into the room. Is beyond is cramped but functional, dominated by a hulking oak desk piled high with papers and manila folders. An old Underwood typewriter sits in one corner, silent for now. There's a rotary phone perched on the edge of the desk. Venetian blinds are drawn across. You notice that the carpet is fairly threadbare. The walls are bare save for a single photograph. Looks to be some sort of family snap. And a battered fedora is hung from a hook by the door. Bradley Gray is standing behind the table. He looks to be a slender, slightly foppish white man with dark wavy hair that's greying at the temples. He smiles a brilliant white smile, gestures for you to sit down. He says, good evening, it's good to see you. Please, you see his brow furrow as he looks at you. Take a seat. You look like you could do with one. Carlton, it's good to see you too. Carlton says, nods. These are the gentlemen I spoke to you about, Bradley. Once again, let me repeat my thanks for your offering the time to speak to them. But what they wish to talk to you about and why they wish to see Miss Carlyle is of importance. Please let me reiterate that I wouldn't have brought them here had that not been the case. Of course, I understand. Would you like a drink? He looks across to his decanter.
For me, thank you.
Yes,
I'm fine.
thank you.
I'm fine, Mr. Gray, but thank you.
He hands you a brandy in a crystal glass. Before we start, may I inquire as to you seem to have been in the wars, you gentlemen.
Well, Mr. Gray, can I introduce myself to begin with? I'm Jacob Lockhart. I'm an art dealer, resident here in New York. My friends here are Douglas Blake and Lex Swar. Mr. Gray, we're so grateful for you taking the time to see us, and I do appreciate your time is extremely valuable. I'm not going to waste that time. I'm going to get straight to the point. We've come here to see if you could introduce us to your client, Erica Carlyle. And I appreciate you're going to need some persuading as to why we should do that.
Carlton, have you been speaking on my behalf again? No, I don't need persuading at all. But as you can appreciate, Erica is a busy woman, running a business empire and conducting her social life. There just aren't enough hours in the day, so I have to be very careful. It's my remit to ensure that I screen any unnecessary meetings or entanglements for her. So yes, of course, if you need to see her, then and what Carlton has told me, then yes, I have no problem arranging that, but I need a little bit more than I've been told so far.
Well, let me tell you, Mr. Gray, where to start. We
By the
came
beginning.
to the best place as any. We were called to New York by a good friend, Jackson, who led us to understand that he needed some help. He was investigating an African cult with links to the demise of the Carlisle expedition. He led us to believe that he was onto something, that he had important information that I think he was intending to share with Erica. We arrived in New York only to find Jackson murdered in the most brutal fashion before we could speak to him and before we could help him.
Was he he wasn't the poor fellow who was murdered in the Chelsea?
He was. And it was the most horrendous murder, and you'll understand that we have history with Jackson. He was a good friend. We've been through much together, and understandably we wanted to find out what happened to him and why it happened. That led us to investigate his death, and We knew he was investigating the demise of the Carlisle expedition, and in the course of those investigations, we've uncovered evidence that the same African cult that is believed to be behind the demise of the Carlisle expedition has a base and was operating here in New York, and
Right.
they are behind Jackson's murder. You asked at the beginning for us to explain the way my two friends look. We've been in contact with these cultists, and as you can see, my friends have suffered as a result of that. If that's not evidence enough, then perhaps I could show you some of the artifacts that we've recovered, and I'll take out the glove with the claws.
Mm-hmm.
In short, Mr. Gray, we are deeply concerned that there are links between this cult and the demise of the Carlisle expedition. We are keen to share information with your client. She may be able to help us. We may be able to assist her in learning more about the demise of the expedition and perhaps even the whereabouts of her brother. I'm not sure there's more I can say to you, Mr. Gray, but I've been as open and as honest as I can with you. We really would value Miss Carlisle's time and assistance.
Yes. You see, I have a problem because Mr. Lockhart, was it? Yes.
Yes.
As much as I'd love to help you with that, the whereabouts of her brother, I can tell you he's dead. I can show you all the reports. I don't really think there's much farther we can go than that, is there?
No, but sorry, I'll introduce myself. Sorry, my name is Douglas Blake, and I've been assisting with this investigation. The purpose isn't so much to provide Miss Carlisle with additional information as to what happened to her brother. We understand that she's been very extensive in her own investigations. We wish to find out if there's any information that she may hold that would assist us in investigating the death of Jackson. Obviously, she's managed to achieve closure by finding out what she has. We are just at the beginning of that journey, and because Jackson was investigating her brother's disappearance, we feel that connection, he may well have been killed because of what he found out. We're hoping that she might have information that would lead us towards finding out exactly what happened and why they chose to kill him, and ideally bring them to justice.
But
We
all
would
the
hope-
information.
We would hope that Ms. Carlisle may, want to prevent what happened to her brother and what happened to our dear friend happening to someone else.
Well, of course. I mean, I'm sure that she would, but surely that's a matter for the police. I mean, all the information regarding regarding her brother's demise is already in the public domain. It was a full report was commissioned by the Foreign Office. I can't believe there is anything else that Erica could add that it has not already been published. You see, she's not particularly enamoured with speaking about her brother. As far as she's concerned, it's old news now. She's got on with her life. As you can appreciate, there has been many trying to manipulate the situation for their own gain in terms of reporters and such forth, trying to make more of the story than it was. So it's quite a difficult subject to broach with her, if you understand me.
No, absolutely, totally understand that. But also, this is not something that the police will be able to investigate, because the activities, what happened in Africa, is beyond their jurisdiction. They're purely looking at the activities of the individuals in New York. We are interested in his wider investigations, what he discovered, what was going on with the expedition. It's entirely likely, as you said, that everything is in the public domain already, but we also feel that maybe some of the information that Jackson had compiled, and we have all his notes, may be of some interest and value to her. So we have no desire to make any money or advertise this. We are not journalists. We're not seeking fame or fortune or to use her good name. We're just hoping that she would help us find justice for our friend.
He looks at Carlton. I'm sorry, I don't see how she can help. You say that your friend wanted to speak to her,
Yes,
and he was killed before he was able to do so.
indeed.
Yes.
Which suggests maybe there is something in the materials that we have that would mean something to her that does not mean anything to us. So if we could show her what Jackson was going to show her, it may be significant to her and only to her.
Well, what was it that Jackson was going to show her? If you can show that to me, then maybe I can. That would help me with my decision.
Well, I'll show you. Well, it was lay out all his papers and let's whack out the tome as well. We brought everything with us.
What you laying out then?
His notes.
Okay, all of his notes.
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Don't forget, like one of them, like one lot of notes, it's like a massive thick stack of notes that like you got like a few
It's all
words.
gibberish and stuff.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I'm just going to show him everything because what I'm trying to convey to him is that there may be things in here that mean nothing to us. That it may be one word. It may be a phrase. We don't know. We need her insight.
And there may be things she knows that will shed more light on the investigations that we've already had. It's putting two pieces of a jigsaw together, Mr. Gray. We don't know what the picture is until we put those pieces together.
We have the summaries as well, don't we? I mean, we could show him those.
Sorry?
Do we not have summaries of the of his ramblings?
Yeah. You got.
So we could show him those as well.
Okay, so he picks up. I mean, obviously, the first like document that he picks up is the letter that Jackson sent to Kensington, in which it alludes to all members of the Carlisle expedition might not be dead.
Which is fine.
And he's like, he looks at that and he's like, "What is this? Why?" He kind of shows it. What is this? They might not be dead. Well, what do you mean they might not be dead? I mean,
well, we don't know, sir. I'm sorry. That was not something we wished to lead with because, as you said, there has been a full investigation and report that confirmed their death, and we did not wish to raise any false hopes for Miss Carlyle. There may be evidence in here that would suggest that maybe some did survive. We do not know, but that is we don't wish to be seen to be grifters seeking to bring false hope to her. This is merely the information that Jackson was going to provide. You know, if you think that this is something that would be of interest to her, then we would be happy to take it to her. But we do not wish to upset her either, needlessly.
if there's any suggestion that her brother might not be dead, she needs to be aware of it.
Well, in which case, we would be happy for you to take this to her.
It would be can you imagine the scandal that would come out if that were the case?
Absolutely. We as I said, we have no interest in publicising this. That is not why we're here.
Well, okay. To prevent a scandal of gargantuan proportions, I will attempt to arrange a meeting with her. You must lead with that information. It is that will pique her curiosity. She would, if there is any suggestion that any members of the Carlisle expedition are still alive, she would obviously want to know.
Well, if you feel that is something that she is an idea that she's prepared to entertain, then of course we shall.
Is there something in these other notes? He kind of gestures towards is there something in there that substantiates his claims? Is there more detail as to where this Elias man has got that information from?
There may be things in here that we have not understood. If we could work through these with her, they might make more sense to her than they do to us. we have limited knowledge of what she has found out about the detail of the expedition.
Okay. Yes. So I will speak to Miss Carlyle, and I will arrange a meeting with her. It will have to be at her Westchester estate, and I will accompany you.
Absolutely.
Are you available for any time over the next week or so?
We are, look at the other gentleman, we are open to whatever time is convenient to her.
Okay.
Nod.
Okay, well, if you leave that with me, then I will make the necessary arrangements, and I will be back in contact with you, Carlton, to confirm if that's okay. He nods. Says, thank you, Bradley. I do appreciate it. And as I said, I'm sure that yes, I know you won't let me down. Please don't let me down. Erica's wrath is easily raised, and I could do without it.
Thank you for your time, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Gray.
It's been a pleasure meeting you all. Good day.
There, sir.
Okay, you head outside and close the door behind you.
Speaking of time.
Yep. Halfway down the corridor, Carlton says, well done, that was a good result. I thought we'd lost it for a minute.
Indeed. Well, it's difficult to know which elements will pique their curiosity and which will shut them down. So
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. So
We have a hint of what she's going to be interested in, but the difficulty is going to be toning down some of the more extreme and
fantastical elements.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us once again. We really appreciate you spending time with us here in 1920s New York. Please join us next week where we continue Call of Cthulhu, Masks and Nyarlathotep.